up, chat? Happy Saturday, February 12th, 2022, man. I hope you guys are vibing out. Sounds like a lot of people excited for UFC tonight. We got the Super Bowl tomorrow. We got NASCAR within a week now, right? Birthday coming up. It's going to be wild, man. I'm excited for tonight. 10 games of the league going down, and a couple teams with some trade pieces debuting, some not yet, and some with a game under their belt. So it's gonna be fun to kind of break it up and come up with I don't know, a player pool to boot here, man. So I'm excited. It's Saturday. We brought back the coach. So nice. We had to do it thrice. Yeah, there's a word we use a lot. What's up, coach?
What's up, Gun?
Not much. How'd you enjoy our week of winter? We're done with that crap now, right? It's like,
hey, that's it. No thanks. I think we're done. Now back to golf weather, so I'm good to go.
Last night, DeJounte Murray, life without Derek White, triple-double, 32 real points, 4 steals. He led the entire slate in fantasy points with 80 of them. He'll be back tonight. Maybe the curtain call. LaMelo Ball, 67 and a quarter fantasy points last night. He dropped 31 points, 12 assists, also had 4 steals against the Detroit Pistons. Joel Embiid, 66.75. DKP, 19 rebounds. Man, I was on his assists over 4.5. Luckily, when I got it, it went down to 4. That should have been a message, but I took the 4 and I pushed the 4. Terry Rozier, triple-double, 25 real points. Another guy with 4 steals. Him and LaMelo were picking a lot of pockets. Jokic in a tough defensive matchup scored just a quarter of a fantasy point less than Joel Embiid, but he was a little bit more expensive, so I'm happy with my full Jokic fade, full Embiid stand. But at the end of the day, it was pretty much the same play. Cat dropped 55. I was bullish on that game because of the 240 total. And there were so many questionables on the T-Wolf side, but it was like they all ended up playing. But it was okay, though, because they lived up to the total. Cat, Anthony Edwards were the 2 of the big 3 to have. And then you could run it back with DeMar DeRozan. He dropped 35 real points. And Vooch had a solid game, but the center spot had already been won if you were elsewhere. And then Robert Williams, I was very, like, late in the day, I was like, is Enes Kanter gone? And like, I was like, is Robert Williams going to get 35 minutes today? And, he was 7K. I was like, I didn't want to push the issue against Jokic. Again, we won the position already with guys like Embiid and Vucevic, but Robert Williams had a massive game, 5 stocks on a 15, 16 point rebound line. So no big surprises at the top end. O'Shea Brissett was one of my higher owned value plays on DK. He came through pretty doggone strong. I was, if you guys watched the stream yesterday, I really was never enamored with Bones Highland, and I didn't end up having any, so I guess that allowed me to be a little different in the field. But his when guys like that kill it off the bench, especially when you're not on the court with a guy like Jokic, you tend to be overvalued, and we ran the numbers yesterday, and when he was on the court with Jokic, it wasn't much different than Monte Morris. And I tell people, if Monte Morris was on this slate at the same price, would you play Monte Morris? Maybe in a few, but you wouldn't be as excited. So simmer down. And if you did, you were all right, man. Coach, did you enjoy last night's slate?
It was wonderful in the fact that my number one play was DeJounte Murray at that big price, and I thought his ownership was fantastic. I think everybody was scared off of the big money, and so 100% everywhere for me with DeJounte at an 80 burger, but I got trapped with everybody else. Not you, but I fell for the Bones. The Bones deal got me, man.
It was just like the Celtics are a good defense, point blank. They've been just stepping on teams' throats. And the fact that, he's going to be sharing the court with Jokic, I was just never really like that excited for it. And he was definitely, the ownership on it was like way higher than I wanted. Him and Kelly Oubre were, not Kelly Oubre, Kelly Olynyk were pretty trendy
They were very trendy. Yeah. I avoided Kelly O too. So I was happy there. But, Bones, if, I know that it's not much different than Morris out there, but he seems to have a better points per minute. Maybe it's just because he got in scrap time or
Yeah. No, he
whatever the
definitely
case
points
is.
per minute, like without context. There was reason to be excited, but we were all about
Right.
putting context. And his court time alongside Jokic, alongside Will Barton, I think it was like 0.6 to 0.7 fantasy points per minute, drastically
Right.
different than when he's out there, facilitating and running the court by himself. So that's just the way it
Right.
is. A lot of times, people get excited when bench players become starters, and it's really not. It's usually a negative impact on their per minute production. But I
Yeah.
mean, I'm definitely not pointing and laughing at somebody because he was so cheap. You just needed value. But the play itself, like, I don't know, maybe it's a learning experience for some. But there's gonna be times where like a 3K bench guy gets the opportunity at starter minutes. But the Jokic's, the Embiid's, like those high usage bubble guys, there's not gonna be many people that can step into a lineup with those guys and be big beneficiaries. So something to think about, something to learn from, and move
Definitely.
on. And
That's why
tonight,
ownership's so important, though, too. You're right. I mean, he was just way over owned. I don't know what the momentum there was, but again, you live and learn. You take the good with the bad, the Murrays with the bones.
yeah. Looking at chat here. Shout out to the live chat. You guys hanging out on a Saturday. Justin Brooks, Mia Moore, Jermaine Sharp. Jermaine Sharp says he likes De'Aaron Fox over 20.5 points. Anthony Simons over 4.5 assists. DeJounte Murray over 39.5 PRA. Yeah, those sound all right. I haven't shopped on PrizePicks yet. Saturday, kind of a late start. Plan B, Skimmer in the chat. Spen Duck, Kiefer Easterlin, Damien. What up, Damien? What up, Shark? Smelzer. Coach is in the chat. Shout out to Coach in the chat. We figured that one out, did we?
Yeah.
um,
Are you old shaming me
I'm
again,
not.
John?
No, I'm not. And if you thought that, then you're not old. uh, Damien says I ran 100% Embiid, dang near it yesterday. Thanks to you, I appreciate that for that cat over Embiid on Fanduel analysis yesterday. I mean, so the reason I was set aside some cat exposure was because it was a 240 total, and Edwards and Pat Bev and D-Russ, they were all questionable. They ended up all playing, but cat, still big piece of a 240 total. I mean, you can't look away from 240 totals. Tonight we have one that's almost 240. It might get to 240. We'll see. What a Fish fan. Hey, Doronzo in the chat. Quinn, rich homie Quinn. Anyway, we got some work to do. So let's pop open the slate here. I guess we got Underdog open. Boom. All right. This stream brought to you by, powered by RunDFS.com. If you guys want access to my spreadsheets, the Discord, my player pool, all that stuff, go to RunDFS.com. I'll talk more about it later today. And then let's pop open Underdog. This is a massive slate. So not only are 10-game slates usually a rodeo to keep tabs on just because there's 20 teams in action, but we're hot off the trade deadline. So there's going to be some spots where we don't know or do know or maybe know if a newly trade involved player will be able to play or not play. They've put up quite a bit of news surrounding that. So shout out to Justin Fan for making this so much easier for guys like us. But the key news to watch via Justin as of 3 p.m. Eastern: LeBron James, questionable. Zach LaVine, questionable. Fred VanVleet, questionable. Anthony Davis, Darius Garland, probable. Russell Westbrook, questionable. Nikola Vucevic, probable. And Seth Curry is unlikely to play. And I also think I saw Porzingis is not going to play today either.
Yeah, he's
So
out. Yeah.
so let's start
What a
swimming around.
shot.
Yeah, you're in Dallas, huh? How'd you take that one?
So long, KP. Good luck getting into any of those games. He'll play 2, miss 7. No thanks.
I don't know, man. I feel like you could have got something more than
Oh, it
Spencer
was a terrible trade. It was awful. I mean, it's a hard to believe. We basically gave him away. We took on Berton's contract, which is, I think, the worst contract in the entire NBA. Maybe Westbrook's
I was
close.
gonna say Westbrook says
or
John Wall
Wall.
says
But
Luke Kennard got
$84 million for a guy that can't even get on the floor and he couldn't defend me. I mean, come on, man. You take that on for the next 4 years? That's a horrible trade. But hey, the bottom line is we got rid of tissue paper Porzingis, and now maybe Dinwiddie can get in there and we can have Bertans spot up for a few threes. But it was a disaster trade. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I didn't even know that he was on the market, but it certainly feels like maybe you could have got something better than Spencer Dinwiddie and Davis Bertans. I mean, I'm not a Porzingis hater. I think when he's on the court, he's been good for that defense and good for that offense. But I guess you just never know what's going on in these locker rooms. And this day and age, there seems to be a little bit more I don't know, friction than perceived. Like when I don't know. I don't like to speculate. I don't like the gossip. We'll see. Spurs at the Pelicans. First game on the docket tonight. Spurs projected starting five: DeJounte Murray, Devin Vassell, Doug McDermott, Keldon Johnson, and Jakob Poeltl. Am I not Poeltl enough for the Poeltl Club? Taking on Devontae Graham, C.J. McCollum, Brandon Ingram, Herb Jones, and Jonas Valanciunas. Larry Nance, he's probably gonna be done for the year. Part of that trade that sent or that received CJ McCollum, sending guys like Josh Hart away at 229.5 total. 6-point spread to favor the New Orleans Pelicans. DeJounte Murray, opportunity to curtain call his big game last night with another game against a porous Pelicans defense that has been bleeding fantasy points to opposing point guards. And without Derek White, we have certainly seen plenty of upside and plenty of high permanent production. And DeJounte Murray just might be well on his way to being Westbrook price from 2 or 3 years ago. So if this kid is 12-13K on the other side of the train tracks being the All-Star break, we're not surprised. So maybe we should just keep taking advantage of them, especially in positive matchups such as the Pelicans. So this season, DeJounte Murray on the court, Derek White off the court. Murray, a 1.6 fantasy point per minute production rate, almost a 45% assist percentage, and a 28% usage rate. That is what you want. Team DVP chart and RunDFS.com NBA VIP spreadsheet says that the New Orleans Pelicans are going to be allowing a top 8 amount of fantasy points per game to opposing point guards. And DeJounte Murray is just a stat sheet stuffer. He is peripheral or two away from averaging a triple-double, so it becomes a fantasy dream. And the bigger the slate, the more probable value we're going to have to fit in guys like DeJounte Murray. I've got him right now projected for over 50 fantasy points on both sites. So I'm going to like him a lot. And then Devin Vassell, pretty trendy yesterday. He was one of my higher owned quote unquote value plays yesterday. Maybe his price needs to go up a little bit more for me to be shying away here. 30 fantasy points in his last 2 games, 18, 20 real points, enough peripherals to table set real points to get there. Only a $200 increase in price from his game yesterday. So I'm willing to get back to him, especially while we still have no Langford, no Richardson to confuse us. So give me Murray, give me some Vassell perceived value. And then Zach Collins, who had been working his way back into the rotation. He was out forever for an injury. He's got 3 games under his belt now. 13, 18, 16 minutes yesterday. It's a back-to-back, so they are going to rest him, which means those 13 to 16 minutes aren't there. But neither is Drew Eubanks and guys like that. So Jock Landale might pick up the instant benefit from that, but maybe Jakob Poeltl's minutes are a little safer to see the north side of 30. So a lot to like on the Spurs side. Keldon Johnson looks like a solid play as well. I'm stuck on DeJounte and Devin Vassell for DraftKings. And then the Pelicans coach, CJ McCollum, a game or so now as a Pelican. I'm still not sure, how many games of sample size I truly want before I start targeting this team. But from the outside looking in, price-wise, almost 8K McCollum, almost 9K Ingram, 7,500 J-Val. It feels like this big three is cheap enough that individually we could see some ceilings pop, but I just don't have a big level of confidence to plan on one guy saying, nope, this is the Ingram game, this is the McCollum game, this is the J-Val game. If I let DVP do the talking, looks like maybe Jonas Valanciunas is in a better matchup than people may think off the surface. The Spurs giving up the fourth most fantasy points per game to opposing centers, and maybe at under 7K on FanDuel, that's such an incredible value that I should just go take that. But it's still a slate that's giving us Embiid, Jokic, Anthony Davis. So winning the position, especially on FanDuel, is still important. Do I think that Jonas Valanciunas is going to be the highest scoring center on the slate? Probably not. So I don't quite know what to do with the Pelicans here. I think my likeliest outcome is that I just fade them all in the name of a 10-game slate and not playing everybody. And I just kind of stick with the Spurs where I have what I think is a stronger read. What was your initial thoughts on the Pelicans Spurs? Pelicans should be noted favored by 6, implied for almost 120, right?
Yeah, 117.75 for the Pels, 111.75 for the Spurs. And I'll try to keep my comments shorter. I'm like you, man. I can go on for we'll be here when the Super Bowl starts tomorrow if I if I go on and on. So I'll try to keep them short. But I'll tell you on the Pelican side, I just don't think the pricing is adjusted. They're a little bit too high yet. Now that McCollum's there, grabbing a bunch of usage. Ingram's too high. Joe Val, little high, but possible play at the 7.5 DraftKings number. Really what it's done though with McCollum coming in is it's just blown all those value guys out of the water. I don't want Hayes or Alvarado or Jones or any of those guys anymore because I think most of the usage will sit and settle with McCollum, Ingram, and Joe Val. But I'm with you. I'm not crazy about the pricing. The implied total's not bad. Joe Val would be the one guy if I had to go somewhere. And then to jump on the Spurs side, Gunn, I'm with you on DeJounte, man. I liked him so much yesterday. It's hard not to like him again. I felt that he would absorb that usage. The numbers show that when Derek White's off the floor, he really thrives because that all goes to him. He's got his hands on the ball all the time. It's hard though when a guy just had 80 for you to not expect regression. But even if he goes back to 60, I'll take it. I think he's a good play. The guy that I love here, though, is Devin Vassell. I think he is the reason they traded Derek White. I think they wanted to open up the shooting guard position for Vassell and hand it to him as a youngster and say, here you go, make it happen. And I bet you next Saturday when we talk, Devin Vassell will be like 6K. I think he's going to really shoot up, and I want to take advantage of this bargain price. Last point, Jakob Poeltl, I think, is playable today. He's been overpriced. No one's been playing him lately. But, they traded away Eubanks. Keita Bates-Diop is out with a laceration from yesterday. They really have nobody but Landell as a backup, with Collins being out again. Collins is going to be a good value play here coming up, by the way. But Poeltl, is an actual interest to me because I think he'll be low owned, and I think he's forced into a lot of minutes. But the last thing I'll say is the only concern is we don't want to get popped. It's the second night of a back-to-back. Popovich has done this since the beginning of way before any DFS started. You just never know what kind of, fiasco he's going to. He may play Keldon Johnson at center for some of the time. Who knows? So I do like Poeltl a little, but really focused on Vassell, and it's hard to pass up Murray.
Yeah, I'm trying to get a read early on the limited sample size of McCollum, Ingram, and J-Val on this team. Just kind of guess, who's really going to benefit. And there's not enough minutes to feel great about it. But the early lean was the usage rate is split between McCollum and Ingram, and I think that's kind of what we expect to happen. And so far, the assist rate is all broken. Joe Val has a 20% assist rate. So it's one of those spots I want to see sample size kind of grow a little bit more. And I think on a 10-game slate, I'm just gonna, if not having this CJ McCollum 60 bomb beats me, it's gonna beat me because pre-flop I can't gravitate towards it. So it sounds like
I agree.
we're pretty much in agreement with just about everything. Popovich hasn't been as bad, but if you still worry about the Pop narrative in the back of your mind, it's one of the first games that locks. So hopefully it wouldn't be too staggering that you couldn't correct it for. But yes, back to back, crazy things that can happen. Kings at the Wizards. Next game on the docket, projects 35 for the Kings. De'Aaron Fox, Justin Holiday, Harrison Barnes, Chimezie Metu, and Domantas Sabonis taking on Raul Neto, Corey Kispert, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Kyle Kuzma, and Thomas Bryant. Daniel Gafford listed as out. Kristaps Porzingis listed as out. Remember, they traded away Montrezl Harrell, so his front court looks pretty thin. And we, at the top of the show, we talked about how I could victory lap fading Bones Highland, right? I was like, yeah, he's not really going to be a benefit. The other day, when the Wizards were down to this very, very thin layer of team, Thomas Bryant was extremely high owned.
Yeah.
Very high owned. And I was like, no, I don't need to do it because I don't think he's going to get more minutes. They're working him back for injury. And he, I think his season high was like 22 minutes. So I fade him, and sure enough, he only gets 20 minutes, and he pops off for 30 fantasy points. So that's one of those where I feel like I'm still happy with the process, but the results were not in my favor. Somebody that was severely underweight to Thomas Bryant the other night. Tonight, more of the same, but again, I'm not expecting big minutes for him. However, once again, a tougher matchup. Kings have been certainly a flourishing matchup for opposing bigs all year, more so from points in the paint. We know Thomas Bryant can chuck from downtown. The Gafford Porzingis being out should give us as many minutes as Kyle Kuzma can probably handle. This might be his last near 40-minute game without Porzingis, where we can consider him an 8+K player this season. If we pull up the Washington Wizards and we start dialing up some on-off court tools via Add More Funds, the NBA Wowie, we'll put Kuzma on. We'll take off Beal. We'll take off Dinwiddie. And I'm not going to take off guys like Montrezl Harrell and stuff like that. I don't want to over dilute the minutes, but 275 minutes of Kuzma without Beal and Dinwiddie has resulted in over a fantasy point per minute and a 27% defensive rebound rate. The guy will go out there and he will get some rebounds. The Kings recently added Sabonis, trading away Tyrese Halliburton. Sabonis in his first game looks pretty good. But he's Sabonis. He's a beast. So him and De'Aaron Fox being the 1-2 punch for Sacramento, they're going to get a shot today to maybe steal one on the road. They are currently 3-point favorites. And then that most recent outing, Sabonis played 33 minutes against the Minnesota Timberwolves. It was a high-scoring affair. He dropped 48 fantasy points with 14 rebounds, 22 points. I'm fine with Sabonis completely outmatching anyone that they might throw at him today, whether it be Kuzma, Bryant, Rui Hachimura. He's almost 10K on both sides. Feels like one of those Randall-esque price points where if Sabonis drops 50, 60 at the end of the night, it's like, oh yeah, Sabonis does that. But with that new team, uncomfortable click feeling still exists. But I do think it feels like he's the captain now. So I definitely like him. And then De'Aaron Fox, we know without Halliburton, he led the team in usage. It is a little bit different now that he is sharing the court with Domantas Sabonis. So I guess we can maybe see what the early lean numbers gave us in that T-Wolves game. And I do think the T-Wolves game might be a little fake because of how high scoring it was. But when Fox and Sabonis were on the court, did I do that wrong? Fox and Sabonis. Maybe they haven't accounted for that game yet. Fox and Sabonis on.
Plus, we add DiVincenzo into the mix. It's just a whole new, mess.
In 27 minutes, we get 39% usage from Fox with a 33% usage from Sabonis, 185, 1.4. I feel like this is not right, and if it is right, it's completely unsustainable. So
Right.
I would say Fox is one of those guys, if you expect 40 fantasy points, that's what I have him projected for. I think the price is fine for that, and Sabonis is somebody I think can knock on the door. 50-plus fantasy points, he's priced just fine for that. And then, yeah, you mentioned a couple other pieces for this Kings team. You said Dante DiVincenzo. Let's see, Sacramento. Let's pull Sacramento's bench. I want to see who might be active today and who might not.
I think
DiVincenzo.
Justin Holiday, Davion Mitchell,
Yeah, it says
Harrison Barnes.
DiVincenzo, Josh Jackson, Trey Lyles will all be available to make their Kings
Yeah.
debut, and they also
Yeah.
have Rashawn Holmes. There's going to be some DNPs somewhere in there, so I don't expect them to all
Holmes
play.
is out of the rotation from what I read. I don't think he even gets in.
That's fair. So what do you do with this
Maybe.
game, Coach? I think for me, it's going to be Fox, Sabonis, Kuzma. The Wizards side, Raul Neto is still attackable. I think 30 fantasy points, as long as he's the alpha point guard option here, and I think he is. I guess Ish Smith could introduce himself here, make that return. Is it Kuzma, Sabonis, Fox for you, or do you like some of these shots on these value guys? I think Neto's still intriguing to me.
Yeah, I'm expecting, and I could be wrong, but I'm expecting Ish Smith to pretty much split point guard with
Right.
Raul Neto. I think they split it. I mean, they've had Ish before. He's back to Washington. We know he's got a nice game. So, I mean, I think Neto's going to be very highly owned, and I don't know if he's going to get there with Smith now jumping into the mix. So I'm a little worrisome there. But I don't know I don't know how anybody doesn't play Kuzma tonight. I mean, I'm locking him in because I'm a listener and a fan too. I listen to you and Raj. It's a tier 1 play for me, Gun.
Let's go.
Kyle Kuzma, tier 1. There you go. I just think, he's such a good rebounder with the other bigs out. He's going to hit the glass. He's got to score. I mean, it seems like a no-brainer play at a very fair price. So I'm all about Kuz here. Do you think am I over the top too much?
No, I've got Kuzma projecting well over 40 fantasy points. I'll take that on both sides under 8K. So I'm definitely a buyer in that. I love his rebound rate. Matter of fact, we'll take a look at our buddies at PrizePicks. Let's see if we got some fun Wizards lines to click, because I don't expect the Kings to really progress defensively. I think the Wizards might go back to be a little scrappier on defense if Porzingis is healthy for the time being. But Kyle Kuzma's listed at 9.5 rebounds. Certainly something I wouldn't be stunned if he goes out there and eclipses. Maybe that's a little juicy or a little too expensive to bet on. 35.5 PRA. Probably could get behind that as well, but 39.5 fantasy points and PrizePicks scoring. I have them for 48, so I've got about a 9-point difference between their projection and mine. So maybe I land on some Kuzma fantasy points, and then they got Raul Neto at 5 assists. Got to 6 that last game against Brooklyn. I think this game has a chance to be a little bit higher scoring than that Brooklyn game. But Neto's somebody that historically I don't play that often, because I've seen him be kind of a 0.7, 0.6 fantasy point per minute kind of guy. But in that last game against the Nets, it just felt like the rotation was going to be so thin that I even got to KCP in that Wizards Nets game.
Wow.
And it worked. It worked. But today I might get to a little bit of both. They've both been adjusted price wise a little bit. KCP still about 4K, Neto 4,300. So if I can knock on a door 30 fantasy points, that's what the projections kind of spitting back to me. I might do it, but I'd rather get the Kuzma Neto. I guess Thomas Bryant's still kind of the question mark here. Do people go back to the well on him? I think I stand my ground here on this minute restriction and allow, if 20-minute center on a 10-game slate is the most optimal play at the center position, then that's what happens and I lose. I think my process is just going to lean me to grab those 35-minute centers, especially on a slate that gives us, the best centers in fantasy, Jokic and Embiid. I'm just probably going to stay away from that. Yeah. Did you have something to add to that?
Yeah, my first 2 two-bagger here on PrizePicks today. I have Neto under total fantasy points 24.5, because I think Ish Smith jumps in there. And I have Kuzma exactly the same as you, 48, and it's the over 39.5. So I like that up and down there with Washington as a PrizePicks play. And then, I'm with you, Brian. You got to remember this: Washington's done. I mean, you can put a fork in them. They're not going anywhere. They're not going to make the playoffs. Beal's out for the season. They're just done. So I don't see why they'd want to push Bryant over the top with those minutes right off the bat. I think they'll play Hashimura at center some in this game as well. So you can go value there with those guys. I just don't. I think it's risky though.
Mm-hmm.
And I much prefer just staying with the same three guys we talked about. I think, like I said, Kuzma to me is I'm going to pull out the word for you, lock washer.
Whoa.
So it's an early lock washer for you.
All right.
So there you go. And
that.
then on the other side, there's no denying De'Aaron Fox should really prosper without Halliburton on the floor now. I mean, this is his team. There was all this, tug and pull with him and Halliburton and Fox back and forth. Who they going to trade? Are they going to trade Fox, which they thought they would? So I like the fact that Fox now is stepping up, and those usage numbers, although on such a small sample, are inflated. But I do think Fox looks terrific. And you know what? Sabonis has something to prove. He's read all the clippings that the Kings got fleeced, and how could they give up Halliburton? So I think he has a little chip on his shoulder. I think Sabonis is a strong play.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think Sabonis definitely could go 10 plus 11K if this team revolves around them. I have had abusive relationship with the Kings front court rotation all year between Bagley, Rashawn Holmes, Tristan Thompson, Alex Lynch, and it just keeps going on and on. But you would think that Sabonis is not going to be included in the carousel of minutes there, and he should be safe for team leading 34-35 minutes. So if you guys believe in that, and I think that's something that we should. Hopefully, sure. Kings are just weird. Then yeah, he has every bit of opportunity to drop 50 plus fantasy points. What's up, chat? Hey, Doranzo says take advantage of that PrizePicks deposit bonus. It ends soon. So I saw it in my email. I didn't completely understand what it was saying, but I guess I'll open it again. So big game deposit bonus. Says, hey, Gun, claim your big game bonus so you can take advantage of the 150 plus Bengals Rams player props on the board. You'll get $5 for every $20 you deposit until 4 p.m. Eastern today. So that would be 3 p.m. Central. So that's 22 minutes. So yeah, $5 for every $20. Go for it. What up, Josh plays DFS? What up, Mike? Mike says Fox gonna smash. He will have a higher assist rate with Sabonis in that offense. Maybe. Remember, Sabonis is a facilitator himself, so I don't know that it'll jump erratically, but it certainly it seems like it should. But in the first game, I don't think he had that many assists. He's like a scorer, man. Fox had 3 assists, so I think it's reasonable to suspect that his assist rate will go up, but 5 assists per game is probably more so the realistic outcome here. Mike says Rui over Kuzma. No way, not for me. Kuzma all day. That's just me though. If you get that feeling in your bad knee with the storm coming in, then you play Rui Hachimura. But Kuzma might play 40 minutes tonight and drop 50 plus. Kings didn't get fleeced. The Kings won that trade by a mile. I think it was more. I think it was more so people were shocked that they traded Halliburton and not Fox. I didn't really think it was a lopsided trade in terms of talent. I just thought it was from a Kings perspective. Fox seemed like the chip, not Halliburton. And I think
it was just a shock. Nobody saw that coming,
Yeah. Doug says Sabonis or Vucevic tonight. Right now, probably Sabonis. I think Vuce had a Q tag on him, but we'll jump into that when that game gets here. Grizzlies at the Hornets. Next game on the docket. Projects 25 for the Grizzlies. Ja Morant, Desmond Bain, Zaire Williams, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Stone Cold Steven Adams. It's going to get you one board. What? Taking on the Hornets. Hornets night 2 back-to-back after a game against the Pistons last night. Project starting 5 for them. LaMelo Ball, Terry Rozier, Kelly Oubre, Miles Bridges, and Mason Plumlee. 239.5 is our total. Gucci down to the Sox. 7-point spread. And Montrezl Harrell active. He played for them last night. I think that's such a fun pickup for the Hornets because he fits everything that the Hornets do. Run fast, no
Gave
defense.
up nothing to get him too.
Yeah. Memphis sizable favorites here. Ja Morant, 10.2K on FanDuel, 10.5K on DraftKings. So he's right down. He's right there with like a DeJounte Murray and price point, $100 difference. So, a stone's throw away. And it really, I think it comes down to who scores more. And I think you can make a strong case for either. I think with Ja Morant, that last game against Detroit, really these last couple games for the Memphis Grizzlies have been pretty lopsided because the Grizzlies were playing at such a high level. The Hornets, if they're clicking, they have one of the better offensive efficiencies in all of basketball with a pretty significant lack of defense to boot. But I guess the question is, do the Hornets keep this game competitive long enough, strong enough? If it does, this 239 total with Ja Morant being applied for, a team leading usage rate, he could have 30, 40, 50 real points here in a, top 1 percentile outcome, but it's not unreasonable to just kind of expect 30 real points and some peripherals. So this season, if we pull up the Memphis Grizzlies, we put Ja Morant on the court and we take off Dylan Brooks, who is going to be out for a little bit longer. You'll see that Ja Morant sustaining a healthy usage rate of over 30%, 36% usage rate, 1.4 fantasy point per minute. You add in the fact that it's the Hornets, an up-pace matchup. This is a real shot for Ja Morant to be one of the slate leaders in fantasy points. Looking at my early projections, Ja Morant is in the top 10, and there's some big boy names up there. So I'm curious to see the ownership gap between DeJounte and Ja Morant. Could be a lot of I don't know, I'm gonna say buyer's remorse, the opposite of whatever buyer's remorse is. A lot of game log chasing for what DeJounte did last night. And I do think there's a real outcome that Ja Morant could just straight up outscore DeJounte here, just because it's the Hornets. Hornets have been part of the gospel process. Find the Hornets game, stack against the Hornets game. Makes a lot of sense here. So I'm in on that on the Hornets side. LaMelo Ball continues to be a little too cheap on FanDuel, 8,500. He's coming off back-to-back games in the absence of Gordon Hayward in some more favorable matchups now where he's flashing his brilliance, his upside. And I think at 8,500 on FanDuel, I'm looking for a north side of 40 fantasy points. 50 plus is there. He did it last night. He's done it in his last 2 games. I do like the guy that's going to get the immediate Ja Morant defense. Ja feels like the hole on the Grizzlies defense. Everything else is pretty doggone strong. And then Terry Rozier, probably still too cheap on FanDuel, even in a tougher defensive matchup. Rozier, Oubre, discussed the thought process yesterday about maybe capping the overlap between the two in your player pool if you're multi-entering. And if you did that yesterday, you would have had more Rozier, or you would have had lineups that had Rozier and not Oubre and vice versa. And that would have been the right way to go. Rozier, 60 fantasy points. Oubre, not as much. So Coach, what's standing out to you on this one? And then, I don't know, talk to me about Ja Morant versus DeJounte. If and I'm just making these numbers up. If I told you DeJounte was like 30% owned and Ja Morant 10%, when we think about tournament leverage, would you be interested in Ja over DeJounte, or are you just that stuck on DeJounte, which is, there's no wrong answer here, just a game theory question.
Yeah, I mean, you got to look at that ownership. I mean, if you can get them, 3 times, 4 times less owned, I mean, it's very hard to not, consider that. But I do have a game theory here, Gun. I'll run past you and see what you think. I think personally, first of all, you gotta go to these Charlotte games, and you gotta have some ownership, because they basically just decided they're going to play super fast. They're a top 5 pace. They're a bottom 6 defense, and their games, Vegas keeps inflating their lines, and they keep going over anyway. So it's hard not to have exposure to this game. But here's my game theory I want to run by you. I personally think Scary Terry guards Ja, and I think Desmond Bane guards ball. And that's what has me a little hesitant on. Everybody's going to want to play Morant ball and move on, and got the two best guys at the two best pace, all that stuff. And I get it. And I'm not saying that Bain and Rozier can shut those guys down, but if they pull them back, 10 or 12 fantasy points, then maybe, you stick with a Murray or you go elsewhere. Do you think those matchups could play out that way?
So I tend to not to care too much about individual defenders on a team. I kind of get more trepidatious when a team is playing good team defense, and I think the Grizzlies are a good team defense. Hornets not so much. So I wouldn't really move away from Ja. Ja's going to drive to the rack, and if he's not going to dunk on you, he's probably going to draw a foul. So I'm not too worried about Terry Rozier being in front of him on the perimeter. And then LaMelo Ball, he stuffs the stat sheet. I don't always need 25 real points from LaMelo Ball to have a big fantasy point game, especially at 8,500. So
on FanDuel, that's a broken price on FanDuel, no doubt.
100%. Yeah, the usage rate and just incredible there. And then Jaren Jackson Jr., who's a guy that could block party his way to a super solid game here. I think he's priced appropriately. I don't feel like there's any big inefficiencies here. I would guess Desmond Bane feels kind of like Derek White to me when he was 6K on the Spurs alongside DeJounte, right about 6K in a game that's implied for this. He might be second or third in shot attempts, and that might give us 30 plus fantasy points sometimes, every now and then, high 30s, and we've seen him score as much as 50 like he did against Philly. So I do think this matchup could be fruitful for them, and 240 total. Anything can happen. Anything is possible.
Yeah. I like Oubre too. I think his price is fair. I like him better tonight than last night. When he gets hot, he's tough to slow down.
Yeah, it could be. That's buyers were more special. Last night, a lot of people were on Oubre, and he didn't quite get there. So maybe this is one of those goldfish memory spots. We get caught up on chat here, and then we'll move on to the next game. What up, Keith? Bonus goes up to $100. Okay, so up to yeah. I don't think. I mean, you would have to. You would have to deposit like $1,000, right? Members of the body. I think Kuzma sits at 5x tonight. 42ish. May need more points per dollar. Maybe like the points per dollar case. Sure, it's a 10-game slate. It's wide open. But I more so focus on raw points on a slate like this. Sell out for ceiling. And I don't mean that individually. I mean that for basically I'm going to want more. And this is really any slate, but I'm going to want way more out of my value plays today. The 4K guys, I probably want 30 out of, you know what I mean? And then everyone else, we're just throwing a blanket over raw points. Obviously, a 12K Jokic giving me 40 is not gonna matter. But like 7 to 8K guys, I'd take 40 plus as a starting point for them, and that's what I got Kuzma at. I just think 40 plus is too easy. My boy Keith says I got 100% match yesterday on that PrizePicks deposit using promo Gundecker. There you go. Hey, the $5 for $20 is nice, but how about $100 for $100? That's even better. So if you're not on PrizePicks yet, there's the ultimate. I wonder if they stacked. That would have been fun. Montrez on PrizePicks. What does PrizePicks got Montrez Harrell at? So let's just put the Hornets up there on the board in general and look at Montrez. I don't see Montrez.
Yeah, I didn't see him. I was looking earlier.
All the high projected lineups have scrubs in them. Is it okay to use lower projected lineup? How many projected points is too low? I mean, why would you want to use a lower projected lineup? You know what I mean, Nate? Like the whole point is to get the most points. If you were that's looking too similar, if I don't know what optimizer you're using, but you can maybe tweak the ownership of the lineup and not have an X amount of this ownership represented in that lineup. But I think it's probably a net negative to get lower projected lineups, if that makes sense. But there's other ways to get there, and really just about every chalky guy has a pivot that you can get behind. Finding somebody that's plus minus $300 to $500, that's plus minus 3 fantasy points. It's not that hard to do, but I probably wouldn't want to start attacking lineups that projected for less, because it's kind of counterintuitive to what we're doing. Jermaine says Miles Bridges had great usage yesterday. Player props was good on him. Yeah. Another thing I like about Miles Bridges, he just plays a lot of minutes. But I got respect for this Grizzlies team, especially defensively, especially down low. We've had this debate on this channel a couple weeks back about Jaren Jackson defense, and chat roasted me. I'll never forget. And now, he's starting to get a little bit more mainstream media respect as a defensive player of the year, kind of top 5 candidate, I'll miss
what he's out of foul trouble.
Yeah, he's been better at it lately, and just
he has been.
Blocks go a long way in DPOY, but I also think having Steven Adams as his anchor in the front court also really, really helps. Let's move on to the next game. 76ers hosting the Cleveland Cavaliers. Project starting 5 for the Cavs: Darius Garland, Karis LeVert, Dean Wade, Evan Mobley, Jared Allen up against Tyrese Maxey, Furkan Korkmaz, Matisse Thybulle, Tobias Harris, and Joel Embiid. A 207.5 total, 2.5 point spread. Favor the home team, Philadelphia 76ers. Both teams on night 2 of a back-to-back. Last night, Darius Garland did not play. Karis LeVert started. Rajon Rondo led a great comeback, and then the Sixers leaned on Joel Embiid. James Harden, Paul Millsap not expected to play today. Life without Seth Curry has begun, and also no Andre Drummond. So I was thinking yesterday maybe I could big brain it and get some gorgeous Ying, but Paul Reed ended up being a guy that ended up getting some of those Andre Drummond minutes, and then he tried to I think he tried to reverse dunk or something and got blocked by the rim. I think that was him.
He had a breakaway and he doped it pretty bad.
So this is a unique spot. 207.5 total gives us very little points to expect, and both teams do rock a pretty low pace rating just in general. The Philadelphia 76ers have a bottom 4 pace rating. The Cavaliers have a bottom 6 pace rating. So comparative to the rest of the slate, this is probably one of the lowest scoring, lowest paced games. So we kind of have to gamble on whether or not 11 to 12K Joel Embiid without Seth Curry, without Harden, for this might be the last game or so without Harden, is his 40% usage rate worth fading on a back-to-back against this Cavs defense and this Cavs and this pace. So something to think about, Chad. I'd love to know what you guys are doing with Joel Embiid. Did you get your points from him yesterday and you want to move on, or are you going to go back to the well here? Embiid is just that much of an manimal that it that he's always going to project well. Early on, I've got him projected as a top 3 fantasy point play today. That money, that 12K, that's a pretty big area represented, or pretty big representation at that price range for fantasy points. Jokic is on the slate, Doncic against the Clippers. It's just you start with 100 fantasy points. And then, of course, we mentioned DeJounte Murray and 80s on the slate, guys like that. So I'm curious to see what the field wants to do with Joel Embiid here. And then on the Cavs side, kind of like the Pelicans situation, Darius Garland back in the mix here, and Karis LeVert newly acquired in the mix. Both these guys over 8K. So pace and implied total considered, am I really going to get any type of upside at these numbers? It feels like I'm going to end up being on the no side of that. And we've got 3 starters at 8K or greater. This isn't the Bulls. This isn't a Bulls total like it was last night where 4 Bulls dropped 20 real points. I think I'm full fading the Cavs team today. Coach, do you agree with that? And your thoughts, where would you rank Embiid on a back-to-back comparative to the field and some of the other options tonight? Do you end up getting less exposure to him tonight than you would have last night?
How's 0% exposure?
I mean, it's not crazy.
I just think this game's a pass. I mean, yeah, sure, Embiid can go for 70 on any given night. But, I mean, until the prices adjust with Garland, LeVert, and Allen, and even Mobley on the floor, the Cleveland prices are way too high against a good Philly defense. You got 2 top 10 defenses, 2 of the slowest, if not the slowest teams in the league. I just don't see how you can pay that and expect to get any, get your value out of it at all. And then on the Philly side, Embiid on a back-to-back at 12K against a terrific interior defense from Cleveland. I mean, Mobley and Allen, They lead the league by a mile as combined 4 5s in shots change per game. It's like crazily in on top. And so I just think it makes no sense. And, I get it, Maxi, those guys, Harris, aren't priced badly, but, they're going to use bench. They're going to use Niang and Green and Milton and Joe and these guys, and probably Reed if he can save face from missing the dunk yesterday. This is a full fade game for me, Gunn. I mean, I don't blame anybody for playing some of the top guys, but it's not going to be me today.
Yeah, I think I got my money from Embiid last night. I might move on. I would say there's gonna be spots to jump back on him, but yeah, if I'm putting a checkbox out there, so I like to be really selective. These big slates, especially MME guys that you can or maybe the entry level MME guys really can make a mistake by trying to have just to say they have. Yeah, I had 5% Luka, 10% Embiid, 7%
Right.
Jokic, 7% DeJounte. Like they try and play everyone. You can't play everyone. And for me, this is probably one of those spots where you did your thing, dog. That's gonna be a no for me. So I'm probably gonna be on the outside and hope that I get to the top elsewhere. But I certainly wouldn't talk anyone off of Embiid because
No.
the raw projection is still pretty doggone high. But
I'm going to watch that game, though. It's an awesome game to watch.
yeah, Cavs. I mean, this is definitely a potential preview of what we might see in the postseason. The Cavs, one of the dark horses, and adding a guy like Karis LeVert. I guess the Sixers wouldn't be as the same because they don't have Harden here, but might be an early preview. Let me get caught up on chat here. Jermaine Sharp says Embiid assists. Man, I was on the assist yesterday, didn't quite get there. But maybe, as Coach said, the Cavs, if they're going to press the ball to leave Embiid's hands a little bit more, maybe he does get that assist rate. He had over a 30% assist rate on the season without Seth Curry on the court, with Maxey on the court. So if you believe in goldfish memory, maybe you run back that line. What up, Gabriel? What up, Sean? Sean says, I told you Whiteside kills Orlando would be low owned. I was never anti-Whiteside yesterday. The only issue was Whiteside. You could say Whiteside all day at 3 p.m. Eastern, but until Rudy Gobert's rolled out, you can't play Whiteside, Sean V. But Whiteside was largely irrelevant for me because I had Embiid, right? But Whiteside's fine. Whiteside's a beast. I don't think anyone argued against Whiteside. Sean, I think your memory is a little selective. Allen played 33 minutes, Mobley 29, riding on a high. Will get crushed against Embiid. Embiid's definitely a beast. We'll see. It's going to be a huge task here. No one would be surprised if Embiid did well. It's just for me, all the other underlying metrics of this game, the pace, the total, and even just the matchup not being as great as a normal game, I'm willing to put that 11, 12K in something that looks a little bit more fruitful, at least pre-flop, One assist shot. Yeah, Rob, one assist shy, but the line moved from 4.5 to 4 a little bit before lock. So some of us actually were able to push 4 assists for Embiid yesterday. What up, Josh Davis? Jokic has a tough matchup along with Embiid tonight. Jokic, had a tough matchup last night as well against Boston and managed to still get to 65. So Jokic has a couple of games this year where he has shown that it really doesn't matter because he does so much. And I think Embiid's on that level as well. So I definitely don't want any of the preceding 10 minutes to be the reason. If you were on Embiid coming into the show, go with your gut. But for me, I just think 11, 12K, I'm probably going to try and plant that money into something that feels a little bit more warm and fuzzy. And for me, I'm just probably going to be down on Embiid. But I was really high on him last night. Nuggets at the Raptors. Speaking of Jokic, projects 35 for the Nuggets. Bones, Highland, Will Barton, Aaron Gordon, Jeff Green, and Nikola Jokic taking on Fred VanVleet, Gary Trent Jr., OG Anunoby, Scotty Barnes, Pascal Siakam. VanVleet coming off a game off. Officially has a Q next to his name with left groin soreness. If he can't go, you might see that lineup again where Gary Trent, OG Anunoby, Scotty Barnes, Siakam, and then Precious Achua comes in. So everyone moves up 90 feet like a walk in baseball, right? 223.5 is our total. Nuggets, night 2 of it back-to-back. Jokic continues to probably be my only source of exposure to the Nuggets here. Watch this be hashtag DFS where Bones Highland pops off today after aggressive ownership yesterday, and now buyer's remorse says no way, bro, not for me. I would say if Van Vliet was out, the matchup may be a little bit better than the perception. I'm still not live to go get a ton of them, but Jokic is a guy that has popped in really, really great matchups or really bad matchups pre-flop this year. Thinking about what he's done to the Heat, Adebayo, what he did yesterday to the Celtics, he's just a monster. So if you got him for one of the highest raw projections, kind of like Embiid, even if you don't love the matchup, you don't love the total, he's still going to be live to be a slate breaker. This matchup, this total comparative to Joel Embiid is pretty significantly higher, right? 15-ish a point. So that would let me to be the tiebreaker to Joel Embiid, and he actually is cheaper than Embiid by $300 on DraftKings. Yesterday, I think he was a little bit more expensive than Embiid on both sides. Today, I think it's 1-1. On the Raptors side, the allure with the Raptors is the fact that Nick Nurse allows them to play up to 40 minutes, sometimes more. So you get a lot of opportunity, a lot of implied possessions from all the Raptors through and through. And like I said, if we don't get any Fred VanVleet in tonight, Gary Trent Jr. has been a guy that I lean on. He's finally evolved into the 7K area on Fanduel after being a free square on his last couple games. OG Anunoby also over 7K. And the Scotty Barnes, Mario, appreciate that follow. Scotty Barnes 6,400 on Fanduel. Maybe he has one of the better chances at being the strongest points per dollar play on the Raptors team. But I don't feel like we're getting an incredible bargain pre-flop on any of the Raptors, even at 37 to 40 minutes if they're fully healthy here against the Nuggets. So kind of a harder to read game. I think I sprinkle in Jokic probably in a tertiary category, tier 3, and then based on the Van Vliet news. If Van Vliet did play, I think if he's 4 board 40 minutes, he has enough meat on the bone where 40 plus to 50 fantasy points is not an outlandish outcome, and he can pay off this price tag. But if he does play, then it's harder to trust and love everyone else on the team. And Siakam and Van Vliet would probably be the guys that are most interesting to me. And on a 10-game slate, if I'm trying to keep my player pool tight, I just don't honestly know how much of anybody I would get to, and I don't even know how much Jokic I'm prepared to get to. Coach, thoughts on Raptors and Nuggets?
Sure. I do have a secret squirrel pick for you for the Raptors.
All right. Let's hear it.
Something new to you, secret squirrel. I'm interested to see what they do with Thaddeus Young. They gave up a first round pick for him. I know I read some coach speak how much Nurse thinks about him, and he just seems like the kind of guy that's going to jump in here. I think he'll pass Boucher, and he could be like a 28-minute guy. I'm not saying jump on him tonight, but boy, that'd be a great GPP play at 3-4 on DraftKings. I think he's going to fit into this rotation. He's a Nick Nurse kind of guy, and something just to keep an eye out. So would you have any thoughts on Young?
Yeah, it's hard to trust anyone who doesn't start for the Raptors to be part of the rotation. Right. But I think I don't assume that they traded for him for no reason. But Boucher, Achua, Thad Young just murking up. They might divvy up the remaining 10 minutes left behind by Siakam and Barnes. But I think the thought of Thaddeus Young makes a lot of sense. But Ken Burch, Thad Young, Boucher, Achua as backup bigs on a front court on a team that loves to play 37, 40 minutes to their starters. Maybe Nick Nurse starts realizing he shouldn't be playing his starters this deep, and he starts, giving and contributing a more modest rotation. But he's suggested that in the past that he really hasn't come through on those words yet. So this is looking a lot like prime Tom Thibodeau, and I don't know if I'm digging on the bench on a 10-game slate, Coach.
No, I'm not saying Young's the play today, but it's something to really watch out for because, Nick Nurse is a terrific coach. I know he's been saying he's going to play a deeper bench. He can't burn these guys out. But I just think eventually here he's got to make he's not that stupid to know, Van Vliet's got a sore groin as it is. He missed a game. He could miss another one. You can't go into the second half or the final third of the season with your guys exhausted. So he's he's going to be forced to use some bench. The problem is he's just a gut feeling kind of coach. I love coaches like that, and he's not going to put you in there unless he trusts you. And I think Thad Young's the kind of guy that he's going to trust on the stretch more so than a Boucher. I don't think he likes Boucher. He can't trust him at all. But just something to throw in there because I think there's got to be some rotation. So I'm going to be a little lighter on Toronto for a while. I know I'm trying to get out ahead of it though, because their prices are up there now. Trent used to be, like you said, a free square in the fives, but when you look at Van Vliet at 8.6, Trent at 7, and Anunoby at 7.3, Barnes 7.1, Pascal Siakam at 10, there's no value in any of those guys. And I think he's going to start using the bench a little bit more. And unless Van Vliet sits this game, I'm not interested in anybody on the Toronto side. If he does sit, then you really do have to consider a Trent or Anunoby. Somebody will probably step up a bit. So I get it, but that's a trend I want to get out ahead of. I think they have 4 of the top 5 most minutes played so far this season. That's Thibodeau, but it's not Thibodeau, it's Nurse. So I think Nurse is a better coach. Tibbs is just never going to change, but we'll see how that rolls. On the Denver side, obviously I'm still sore in the backside from this Bones Highland fiasco yesterday, so I want no part of that. The short memory's not left me just yet, so I don't trust him with Campazzo and Forbes and everything else. Don't want to go anywhere there. The thing is with the Joker, it's a tough call. He could break the slate. I'm not going to tell you not to go after him, but man, it's just 11-7. This really stings in this 20 teams playing type slate.
Mm-hmm.
I'm almost more tempted to go with like a bargain 5-7 Gordon or even maybe 6-4 Barton, but not crazy about the Denver side. I think that's nuts to be passing on Joker and Embiid.
Yeah, I guess it all my thoughts would be relative to projected ownership, but I think Jokic has shown a propensity to drop 70s and 60 pluses in matchups that are tougher perceptually. Like yesterday, Boston has been one of the best defenses all of basketball. Nuggets only scored 102. Jokic took 20 shots, only hit 9 of them, but it does enough of everything. 16 rebounds, 11 assists to where it can compensate for maybe a tougher perceptual matchup. And he chucked 10 threes yesterday. So I don't think I'm going to, and if you're making 5 lineups, yeah, I get it. You really got to dial it down. But if I'm going to toss 50, 60 lineups at the wall tonight, I really don't see myself not having some Jokic exposure just because he's live to drop 100 any given slate. So
no doubt.
But I don't think it's crazy. But like, yeah, if someone came at me, he's like, I'm not playing Embiid, I'm not playing Jokic, I'm just gonna put 10K, 12K on Luka, DeJounte. I'm gonna take. There are some lower price centers tonight that don't look bad. I think a slate like this that give you so many studs, the creativity, the juices flow, and I usually allow my my lineups to look opposite the ownership just based on the viability and the probability of having so many pivots right within this, the plus minus 5 fantasy points, $500. So I don't think it's crazy, but I haven't got a pulse on ownership yet to agree or disagree with myself not having exposure. Let me get caught up on chat here before we move on to the next one. By the way, Archie Smith with the sub, appreciate that. We are 1 sub away from 6,500, and then the countdown to 7K.
I was on when you got your 6,000.
Bro, you are just Mr. Milestone himself here, coach. So
you're blowing it up, brother.
Bro, it's going nuts, man. Every day, it's just like we've had multiple 40, 50 sub days on the channel. It's just like crazy. I'm sure it's like nothing to other channels, but like for this channel, it took me forever to get to 5K, and then once I hit 5K, it was just like, all right, here we go. Strap on.
Grind, bro. I'm with you. It's a grind, no doubt.
Yeah. Anyway, so if you're out there lurking, you want to be the 6,500 sub, hit that sub button, man, and then let's start working towards 7K. Crispy, what up, Crispy? What up, Arizona drama? Says Siakam about to crush Nuggets. Been bad against forwards. He just got to stay out of foul trouble. Minutes should be there for him, right? Will Ja Morant guard Rozier or LaMelo? I don't think it's a shadow defense situation in the NBA today. So I guess plenty of time against both. And if Ja Morant's definitely the most susceptible to getting spent. Fox, my favorite point guard tonight, Arizona. That makes sense. I can see that. Big total there. What about Anthony Davis on FanDuel, Team Underground? So Westbrook and LeBron both have Q tags on them. I'm guessing this is just lingering designations from the Portland game, and in that game, LeBron played. And I think there was like a Westbrook Vogel tongue-in-cheek war, and maybe they were, maybe sizing him up for a trade that never flourished. So I feel like Westbrook is closer to in than out, and then probably LeBron. LeBron's played through a lot of Q tags this season as well. So I think they're all going to play. If they're all going to play, AD probably has a little less spice on him, but I think he's still fine. So, but the question was, what about Anthony Davis? Yeah, he's fine. I just need, he becomes exponentially better if LeBron is out. Best value play tonight, says Rick. I don't know yet. Hey. Yo, Aaron Goldman with the sub, man. Appreciate that. You are 6450, 6451. I think I said that wrong. 60, I was thinking 65, and I'm dumb. Math. But appreciate that sub, Aaron. Welcome to the channel. What was I finna look? You're looking for value. So we'll go look at my early run projections here, sorted by greatest value to least value words. I got Pokusevski up here. We'll talk about him. That front court's been pretty depleted. Zubac is looking all right. Your boy Bones Highland up here for 25 DKP. Devin Vassell, I love Devin Vassell. Maybe Neto and Kispert. There's still plenty of plausible, viable value plays. Fox has dropped nothing below 30 in his last 6 matches against the Wizards. Let's go, Fox. Sure. Both teams are very different than the last 6 games, right? But both teams. Let's move on to the next game here. Bulls hosting the Oklahoma City Thunder. Speaking of Pokusevski, project 75 for the Thunder. Josh Giddey, Trey Mann, Lou Dort, Darius Baisley, and Derek Favors up against Ayo Dosunmu, Zach LaVine, Javonte Green, DeMar DeRozan, Nikola Vucevic, and we've got a 219.5 total, 11.5 point spread for the home team Chicago Bulls. Bulls night 2 of a back-to-back, put up a ton of points on the Timberwolves last night. That game, very high scoring. They had 4 starters with 20 real points or more, and DeRozan just continues this incredible season that he's been having. Fun moment where he torched Patrick Beverly and did the too small thing. Beverly laughed it up. But tonight the Thunder coming to town. Thunder have been without SGA, and their front court pretty thin. No Muscala, no Robinson Earl. They waived Diakite. Coach, you taught me how to say his name, and I don't even know that anymore. Delete.
Unless there's a G League DFS tournament going.
Yeah. And then yesterday, I think Isaiah Roby was activated. So it looks like Pokusevski will get a big bulk of the front court backup minutes. And then it's also a back-to-back for the Thunder. They played against Embiid last night. They took 28 minutes out of Derek Favors. And Derek Favors is not a lock to play in both legs of a back-to-back, Coach. So there might be a real outcome where Favors sits and Pokusevski gets forced into even bigger minutes. Matter of fact, I'm not even sure that Favors has played a back-to-back this year, looking at his game log this season. Usually it's like him on one night and Muscala on the other. Well, Muscala's already out. So unless my eyes are deceiving me, I definitely think there's a real chance that Favors doesn't play today. And then in that case, that's that many more minutes to spread around. Basically would probably still get deep minutes. And then, of course, Pokusevski at 3,800 with Kendrick. Yeah. So yeah, I do think this front court looks okay for value. The Bulls here, they do have a couple Q tags that we should probably go through here. I'm trying to get caught up on the underdog news here. I don't see anything that
Levine and Vuk are both questionable.
All right. So we will look at the official reports on Levine, and then Vucevic. I have Vucevic probable now.
Good.
Levine is listed as questionable with left knee injury management, and that is from today. Javonte Green is dealing with right midfoot sprain,
Yeah.
both listed as questionable. So a back-to-back for Levine in a winnable game. Wouldn't stun me if he sits this one out. If that is the case, obviously we're speculating this far out. If that is the case, DeRozan Vucevic would pick up a lot of implied value here. And Ayu Dosunmu also looks like a pretty solid click. And you might even get behind some Dosunmu PrizePicks assist props, something like that. So
Wow. He played 40, almost 44 minutes yesterday.
they are very short staffed when it comes to guards. Life without Caruso and Lonzo and guys like that has been real. So, what are you thinking about this one, Coach? What stands out to you? Dre G with the sub. Appreciate that.
The dude's on the Bulls. I mean, it's hard to really recommend without knowing who's in and out. I mean, they should smash the Thunder. The Thunder are horrible, let's face it. And they're shorthanded inside. So, I mean, depending on who sits and who's in, Dosunmu with the big minutes, I would expect him to play again. I'm with you. I think it's smarter to sit Levine here. Why stress him against this Thunder team? But if Green's out too, you got to start looking at DeRozan and Vuk as being possible pay up, one or the other. And then Kobe White becomes more of a play because there's going to be minutes involved there too. Because they don't go very deep with, Troy. Nobody wants Troy Brown or Matt Thomas. So, let's see what the news pans out. I think it's a safe play on Dosunmu. I agree with you. I have no idea what the Thunder are going to do inside. So Vuk should have a picnic between a combination of Baisley, Favors, Williams, Pokashevsky, and Roby. I mean, that sounds like the G League team waiting to happen there. They're awful. As far as Thunder, Giddy's been fine, but wants to pay 7-4 right now for him. It's become a little bit difficult. Or when he chooses to have a big game at 6-5, he's not a bad play, but this game just gives me the creeps. I don't like it.
I like the Bulls side more, and I will get behind some Pokusevski at 3,800. Not independent of Favors news, and if he comes off the bench for him, I'm still thinking he's going to be pretty well set on near 30 minutes here. You mentioned Giddey at 7K. This is 3 or 4 games now where they have been pretty true to their word about saying Giddey's going to be stuck around 30 minutes as a limit. Yeah. And his price really hasn't gone down to make me want to click it. You guys know I hate minutes restrictions, man.
How can you give a 19-year-old a minutes restriction? Seriously?
Because they don't want to win. They have 800 draft picks, man. They need them to be more valuable.
Are they going to draft 10 more first-round picks and then have 30 guys in the G League?
Yeah. Yeah, so I got no interest in Giddey here. Maybe a chip and a chair on Dort here and there, but I think for the most part, I'm looking at Pokusevski. And then on the Bull side, I mean, if Levine is hindered and that you're in a matchup that you should pretty well win, I don't really see the incentive in playing Levine. Again, speculating, and I don't want to over speculate, but just to be prepared, if we put Vucevic and DeRozan on the court, taking off Levine, Lonzo, and Caruso, DeRozan has a 29.6% usage rate, 24% assist rate, about a fantasy point per minute, and Vucevic almost 1.3 fantasy point per minute on a 26% usage rate. And then Ayo Dosunmu, you mentioned the minutes he played last night. He's definitely another youngster that can go the distance. He has a 24% assist rate. Typically, we've seen a little bit of value in his assist rates or his assist props on PrizePicks and sportsbooks, but it doesn't look like there's any Bulls number. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, because of Levine, I don't think.
Yeah, so they have Bulls, but they don't have Dosunmu. And I think it's probably because of the Levine, knowing that his assist prop would probably look significantly different. So
I got a question for you real quick. Is there any lineup that you would play DeRozan and Vuk, being that, we're guessing Levine possibly out?
Yeah, absolutely. I think they could combine for 50, 60 real points and then, split the difference on peripherals. Last night was another night. I mentioned it earlier, but 4 different Bulls players had 20
Yeah.
points, right? Let me pull
Seems
up
like the
this.
Bulls, stacking the Bulls has been a profitable thing this year. I'm not big stacking in NBA, like, baseball or anything, but I've seen winning optimal lineups with multiple Bulls.
Yeah, yesterday, Kobe White had 22 real points, Devontae Green 23, Vooch 26, DeRozan 35, and Dosunmu 10 assists. So they haven't been as negatively correlated as you might expect. I will say, at 9,500, 9,700, DeRozan and Vucevic were last night. I probably want the north side of 50 fantasy points on a 10-game slate at those price points. But you take out Levine from the mix, he represents 30 minutes of double-digit shot attempts. I would be interested. But if we do get no Levine, I would be looking for Dosunmu assist props, Kobe White 3-pointer props. Usually can get that about 2.5, and then Vucevic definitely has a chance to drop 50+ fantasy points, and I would take that. And if we're skittish on getting to Embiid and Jokic, last couple games of Vucevic without Zach LaVine have been pretty doggone nice. And he dropped 60-70 fantasy points, so not an outlandish range of outcome. Let me see. Nikola Vucevic, DKP by game log without
ownership should be low too, because every good center in the league's playing.
Yeah, there shouldn't be like a ton of 70 fantasy points the other night against the Pacers without Zach LaVine. That's what you want. And the Oklahoma City Thunder have certainly been bleeding all kinds of points, fantasy points, real points to front courts. So this would be a good spot for Vooch. So I'm in on that. Also want to mention, we slept on the Thunder other than Pokusevski. I would get to some Darius Bazley. I think he's still too cheap. I think the minutes on him are likely to be mid-30s, high 30s, and he's active enough that he'll probably contribute more often than not 30+ fantasy points than 20. And the Bulls front court has been the area to attack for me as well. So I definitely don't mind
call
Bazley,
because I think Bazley gets a little run at center as well. Plus, Chicago's terrible guarding power forwards.
Exactly. Looking at the chat here, Hingo says play Dosunmu and White together. Kobe White 40. I think Kobe White on Fanduel, I'd get away with that. 5,500 on DK. Kobe White, in order for him to be a good fantasy play, probably going to need a lot of real points, maybe 18 to 23, and then you hope for a couple peripherals. So I'm not warm and fuzzy on the DK price point, but I'll take the $1,000 discount on Fanduel, where I can live with 25 a little bit more. Rui PRA, I'm not really running to that, but it makes sense that they are still short, and this is probably your last game without Porzingis for a little bit, maybe. I don't know. Nate says Paku is the Thunder's best player. They all suck. Maybe.
It says a lot.
I think Giddy and Dort probably their best player, but Pockett's probably their best fantasy per minute player, right? What up, Mike? Durbin? Did I miss anything in here? Vooch is probably up. Lakers are gonna get blown out. They just might. What Fox is all right. Let's move on to the next game here. The Miami Heat hosting the Brooklyn Nets. Project 75 for the Nets. Kyrie Irving, Patty Mills, Cam Thomas, Kessler, Edwards, and Blake Griffin taking on Kyle Lowry, Duncan Robinson, Jimmy G, buckets, PJ Tucker, and Bam Adebayo. We got a 221 total, 11-point spread in favor of the home team Miami Heat. Brooklyn Nets not likely to have Seth Curry and Drummond in the mix tonight. LaMarcus Aldridge, Nick Claxton, KD, all out. No Ben Simmons, but it sounds like his mental health is clearing up real quick, so maybe he'll be back soon. But for the time being, this is a Nets team that is still probably in an extremely uphill battle going against a Miami Heat team, arguably the best team in the Eastern Conference. A couple of Q tags to keep an eye on. Let me pull up the Miami Heat side, and I really want to know about Tyler Hero the most, because if Hero doesn't play, I was on Kyle Lowry in that last outing. He got us a triple-double. I'd probably go right back to the well. Hero officially questionable, dealing with right knee soreness. If he can't go, like I said, Kyle Lowry's just 5,900 on FanDuel, and that's probably closer to disrespectful than not disrespectful. So I would put that in the player pool. Jimmy Butler, of course, will get that boost. And at 9K, he might be kind of unsung, obvious 50-bomb, triple-double threat at the end of the night. And then the Nets side, I really won't have a high hopes for really anyone here. Kyrie Irving's over 10K now, uphill battle matchup wise, and I think that 10K in the guard spot, that's a down payment on a brand new Luka Doncic. So I don't think I get to Nets exposure, and I might get to some heat with Lowry and Butler if I can get Tyler Hero down. And maybe Adebayo has almost $1,000 discount on his DK price in Fanduel, and he's certainly live 40, 50 fantasy points against a non-existent front court defense that the Nets right now are projected to throw out. Initial thoughts on Heat and Nets?
The Nets have lost 10 in a row. That says it all. I know Kyrie's back because it's a road game. Miami's playing good ball. Hero in or out to me, isn't really going to matter. I think the Heat are going to lay one on the Nets. And I'm with you, not to waste a lot of time, but, Day'Ron Sharp or Griffin, Cam Thomas a little bit, Mills maybe, but they're all they're just playing so terrible right now. Can't really trust anybody. And then it's against a top-notch Heat defense. They've been in the top 5 or 6 defenses all year, especially when they have Butler and Adebayo in there. They'd be probably number 1 overall. They played all that time without those two guys. They're still in the top 6. So, bless you. So I don't know. I think Lowry is grossly underpriced on FanDuel. I think he's just pretty much a free square almost. And but after that, I don't know if I want to pay up for Butler and Bam just because I think they're going to smack the Nets, and just hard to come away with anything. You can, if you feel like you can pick a value guy, there are a ton of cheap Nets guys, but how do you trust them,
Yeah. My old lady blessed or sneezed in the background, and I guess the mic picked that up, bro. That was
I said God bless you to her. I got it.
That's why I thought that was so funny. Like, wow, that picked up.
That's awesome.
Coach with the manners. Shout out to the coach. Young bloods, take notes. Robert says no trip dub if there's a blowout. For maybe Butler at that price. Larry's still cheap enough where he doesn't need to, but there's still I don't know, still a couple of lopsided games here in the last couple of Heat outings. Their net rating is pretty doggone positive, and they are all live to pick up some pretty big defensive peripherals. But Larry on FanDuel, his price just feels way too cheap. Even if Hero played 5,900, still a very viable price point to get behind.
Yeah, and if Hero doesn't play, maybe that makes a little more consideration, even for Butler if it blows out, just because all of those shots. Somebody they're going to funnel to somebody, maybe a Duncan Robinson even.
Yeah, Duncan, I always just play for real points, but yeah.
PPP.
Yeah. All right, next game, Clippers at the Mavericks. Project 35 for the Clippers. Reggie Jackson, Norman Powell, Marcus Morris Sr., Nick Batum, Ivica Zubac taking on Luka Doncic, Jalen Brunson, Reggie Bullock, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Dwight Powell. We've got a 215.5 total, 7-point spread in favor of the Dallas Mavericks. Luka, in his first game without Porzingis, just happened to get his old pals with the LA Clippers, and he had 30-plus real points in the first quarter, and it stung, Coach, because I had action on Luka over 9.5 assists.
Bing bong.
Bing bong.
Fab player props for the Portland versus Knicks.
I got you on that, Vlad. Let me get there first, though. Appreciate that $2 dono, Vlad. But yeah, I had action on Luka over 9.5 assists, and it was just like he caught fire, and there was no need to pass the ball because he was just scoring everything. So I didn't get my assist prop, and then he went absolutely ballistic. Marquise Chris also listed as out. Tim Hardaway Jr. Listed as out. I don't expect the new kids on the block to play tonight, but we'll double check on.
They're not playing.
They're not. All right. So Luka, more of the same here. You run this same game back out. Luka Doncic DKP by game log versus Clippers last 5 games. Am I to believe that now we got bad blood? Now we got problems. Luka Doncic against the Clippers has put up 64 or more DraftKings points in 4 of his last 5. The floor game, 55. And there's 375s or better in the mix here. Who on the Clippers team took a deuce in his oatmeal? Is it Marcus Morris? It's Marcus Morris. Luka could be the highest scorer on this slate today. I have him projected currently, if I sort it from greatest to least, as the number 2, right behind number 2, right behind Jokic. But it's literally by a fraction of a point. Luka will probably be a lot of the point chasey field of players might be going after, but I got no pushback here, man. This is a big spot. It's Luka's team now, and 60 to 70 fantasy points is a realistic outcome. And even if you just take out the DVP as of late against the Clippers, and you just look at what Luka's accomplished in his last 10 games without Porzingis, outside of a couple of lopsided games, we're seeing a lot of 60s and 70s and 71. So although his history against the Clippers is nice, so is his recent history without Porzingis, without Tim Hardaway. He has a real shot to being the keys to this slate. How much Luka is too much Luka? Is he one of your core plays tonight?
That is such a tough call, and I'm not dodging the question because you know me, I'm an open book all the time, but I have not made my final decision here because I want to play him. I mean, he is in a groove like no groove, but I'm just worried about the pace of this game. The Clippers are on a free fall. I just think the Mavs handle this game. I don't know. I'm just a little worried, because if he gets 50 or 40, 48, we're going to be like, that screwed us. And that's still a great game. I mean, he could get a triple double and we're going to be complaining. So I don't know. That price is tough. And the jury's still out. So I'm 50-50. I only build 2-3 hand-built lineups. That's just my theory, the way I play my cash games in single entries. So he'll probably be in one of them, but he's not going to be 100% lock and load just because I want to move my salary around in other places. But really, I don't think anybody else is really playable on the Mavs side, in my opinion. Brunson at 6'7" now, Bullock at 5K. You could consider those guys. The rest are just a jumble, and it's going to get way worse with Dinwiddie in the mix come the next game. But as far as the Clippers go, I mean, they're all cheap, but I can't find really a guy in the group that I'm excited to play. And Norman Powell, I believe, is dinged up as well. So do you like any Clippers here at all?
Nah, I probably don't get to much on the Clippers side. You might hope for a self-esteem bounce back here, but I think I'm more so just Luka. 10-game slate, keeping it moving here. Arizona Drama says Luka has always hated the Clippers since Montrezl Harrell called him a BAWB. Trying not to get demonetized here, whatever they just maybe played. Yeah, Luka
hates the Clippers. There's no doubt he hates the Clippers.
Yeah, I like Luka. I don't hate a little shot of Jalen Brunson on FanDuel, and they keep his assist prop under 10, I think, on PrizePicks. I'm willing to maybe go. Oh, they put it. Oh, Jesus, they know how to get me. 8.5 is his assist prop, and then on the season, I believe the number was over 40%. Maybe that's gone down after last game, but just out of curiosity, real quick, let me put Luka on the court. Let me put Jalen Brunson on the court. Let me take off Porzingis. And then I'll also take off Tim Hardaway. Oh. And Luka's assist rate is at 49% with a 40.5% usage rate. So
remember, a lot of those 30 points in the first quarter, he would have passed a lot of those shots. They were like 2 heat check shots that he shouldn't have taken that went in. So I like your over assist number there. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, how many people have a 49% assist rate with no sample size? Like, that's nuts. So, I might go back to the well and Luka assist props here. And they got him for 56 fantasy points. I have him for 61. So, not a giant gap here, but Luka's Luka, man. He's very live to drop 65, 70 fantasy points. Mitchell Robinson, PRA, check. All right, we'll double check that. With no one to defend inside for the Mavs and decent scores on the Clippers, the game will stay competitive-ish. Lock and load Luka. I mean, it should be more the same with the last game. I think Luka, the game got lopsided early. They started getting back into it, and then it, it just finished as a 7-point game. So I think the 7-point spread is reasonable. Yeah, Luka also.
It's a low total, really, and the Mavericks play super slow. Just something to keep in mind,
Yeah, he does everything. What's some of the best values today on FanDuel? Jeez, drama. Probably Devin Vassell still gonna profile well. Pokusevski's a little bit cheaper on DK than he is on FanDuel, but he's still a solid look here. Next game on the docket, Lakers. Actually, before that, let me do a plug here. If you guys want access to this spreadsheet, the index portal, the player projections, the player pool that I'm running tonight on FanDuel and DraftKings, and some props, right? You want that companion tab to PrizePicks. Be sure to go to rundfs.com, click VIP memberships, and find something that's right for you. If you never tried it before, maybe just a week pass would be right for you. Jump into the Discord. I'll be in the Discord for the 2 hours preceding main slate lock. And that'll be right here. You click this icon, you listen in, you grab a mic, you join in, you have some fun, and we'd love to chat with you. Also, if you're not on PrizePicks, man, they have a ton of props for tomorrow's football game. There is a football game tomorrow. I don't know if you knew this, Coach.
Really?
Yeah, and it should be a fun one. And NBA, they bow down to the Super Bowl. 2 games in the afternoon, and then the entire world, is a beautiful thing, stops and watches a game of football. And if you guys want to create some more interest in that game, and PrizePicks allows you to do so with you could bet on just about anything. Like, it's not as crazy as the sports books where you're betting Gatorade colors and stuff like that. But there's something here for everything. Field goals made, longest field goals. I was thinking about maybe dropping a video later with some of my favorite picks. But if you guys want to get on that, just to have some action, you haven't tried it yet, get on PrizePicks, sign up using code GUNDACKER. I'll put a link in the chat. They will match your first deposit up to $100 instantly. No slow drip, nothing like that. You get that instant playable site credit. You don't have to play through it 8 times and then call your cousin to cash out with a check from a foreign medical instrument company. It's right away, man. It's a lot of fun. So use that link, get signed up, and if you sign up using that code, not only do they show you some love, but they show me some love, and that's pretty doggone cool. And then Coach, if you haven't checked out Coach's content, he does content every day on YouTube as well. We're collaborating with people that I'm open to collaborating with DFS content creators that bring the vibes. Coach, you can find him at DFS Coach on YouTube.
Correct. And dfscoachtalk.com. Check out our info there. And tomorrow I will do an early podcast. I know Sundays are your respite day. Tuesdays are mine, but I'll have that little 2-game slate that's early. I'll have a little podcast up if you want to catch it tomorrow on YouTube.
Jermaine says, can you please look at the early game with Blazers and Knicks? Oh, that's the early game. Okay, well, I guess since somebody did drop a dono, real quick, I'll look at it. I would assume probably Julius Randle would be something I'm in on. But yeah. Man,
Josh Hart debut.
All right, so I would probably take some action on Julius Randle. Anything is RJ Barrett out again? Looks like yes. So probably
he's out. Barrett, Noel, and Rose out for the Knicks. Bledsoe, Johnson, Lillard, Luzada, and Smith for Portland.
So I'm thinking Julius Randle, probably PRA would be something I go after. And then Mitchell Robinson fantasy score. If Wells out, might get some blocks. But I'm not running for that one. I do think Randle makes a lot of sense here. And then Dennis Smith Jr. I saw got rolled out. So on the other side, if I was trying to run back, I probably want to target Anthony Simons. And his assist prop is at 5. So maybe that pushes right now based on his last 2 games. And then with McCollum still gone, I think the assist prop is something I get behind. Nurkic, 36.5 fantasy points for him. That's right on the nose for me. I don't like the Knicks because of their pace, and I worry about Josh Hart being a really good rebounder. Maybe that'll take away some upside from Nurkic. So I guess for me, it would be take a shot on Simon something, either assist or real points, and then Randall, probably PRA. Uh, and then that's it. But I don't have a giant pulse on this game because I was focusing on the main slate. You have any back pocket secrets from the Knicks and the Blazers?
I like PRA on Josh Hart a little bit. I'm glancing at it. I think that he, probably wants to impress first game out. And I'm with you on Randall. Think it's a good spot for him. Quentin Grimes is starting again. He's picking up a little momentum. I mean, if you're looking at some PrizePicks plays there for him, or if you're doing a single game, he's a cheap guy to get in there for a showdown slate.
It's Chinese New Year. You're the Tiger Slam Who Day. Come on, buddy. Can you link us your Discord? It's behind the paywall, man. If I can get a team of a team that I trust to open up a free one, and I'll throw my name on it and try to pop in that one. I might, but I don't have the time myself to do all that. Maybe I'll have something that's free, but the rundfs.com Discord is behind the paywall, so I can't just drop the link. I wish I could, but I can't, because then it would just be hundreds of people and it would be crazy. All right, let's try and wrap up these last two games real quick. Warriors hosting the Lakers. Projects 35 for the Lakers. Westbrook, Monk, LeBron James, Trevor Ariza, Anthony Davis up against Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, Otto Porter Jr., Kevin Looney. 224.5 total. Warriors favored by 7. Lakers did not make a move at the trade deadline, so they are stuck with what they got, and then maybe they start perusing the buyout market. Westbrook, LeBron carrying Q tags from their last game. LeBron played through the Q tag. Westbrook did not. Like I said, I'm willing to speculate that Westbrook out tag was him in this passive aggressive war against Frank Vogel. He credited some of these back pains to, I believe he said, "I'm not used to sitting this much." So
I love that.
Yeah. So this is the Lakers are a hot mess right now. And then on the Warriors side, Steph Curry coming off a good game, had a down game at Utah. I didn't expect much in that spot. And then Klay Thompson, 6,700 on FanDuel, 6,600 on DK. Minutes limit now at 30 is a good sign. We know he can get hot. Not a warm and fuzzy click there. Andrew Wiggins against LeBron James, always a fun narrative. But for the most part, seems like we should have some tapered expectations. Usually when Klay Thompson's at home, I look for a 3-point prop on PrizePicks. If I type in Klay, what do I get? We don't get a 3-point prop today. Gosh dang it. I like
Probably be about a 2.5.
That's usually where they put it at, and I almost always take it. Any quick thoughts on Warriors and Lakers? Any exposure to the Lakers? I think Anthony Davis is probably the most clickable name for me. I love picking on this Warriors front court in life without Draymond Green. We've seen some big rebounding games, some big block games from opposing centers, and I think Davis could definitely fill all of those roles here. Is 2K cheaper than Embiid, 2K cheaper than Jokic, and certainly has a similar ceiling. Although when the big three are all active, I don't expect that as often. But 60 plus fantasy points definitely would not stun me today. I guess we need this game to stay close. But any favorite clicks in this Warriors Lakers game?
Not much, man. It's Lakers are such a dumpster fire. Did you see where Rob Pelinka was on the final day of the trade deadline?
No. What was he?
Can't make this stuff up. They have a picture of him. He's at Disney World.
Oof.
With his family. So that tells you with the Lakers how much they were looking to make a deal. So they're just such a mess. I don't know how you can trust anybody, and their prices are so high. I'm not probably going to have any Laker exposure against the number one defense in Golden State, but Davis would be my go-to if I had to take somebody. And on the other side, I don't really particularly like this game. Klay Thompson at 6'6". If he gets hot, I do love that. I wish I had that 2.5. I'd play it on PrizePicks. I see him 4-5 threes today. He'd be a decent play. But Kuminga maybe is a off the bench flyer at 4-1. He could get some extra minutes, but not my favorite game by any stretch.
Yeah, I might have a sprinkle of AD and maybe LeBron's just a late night hammer, but I don't know. The heart will always want $7,600 Russell Westbrook on FanDuel, so I'll have to control myself. Love me some Westbrook, but this ain't it. This ain't it.
Yeah.
Yep. Chad, we are at almost 200 viewers. You guys been holding 200 for a bit now. What just happened to my screens? But I need 100 plus likes, man. Can you guys help me out on that? 78 likes.
Come on.
I need 22 more likes. Quick math.
Let's do it. Any Coach Talk people watching, hit that like button, please.
Yeah, I would sorely appreciate it. And we got one game left, and boy, is this one a snoozy. Not a doozy, a snoozy. Magic night 2 of a back-to-back up against the Phoenix Suns, arguably the best team in basketball. They put me on a spot a couple weeks ago, asked me what my favorite futures bet for NBA Finals was. I said the Phoenix Suns. Last night, stepped on Giannis's throat. Project 35 for the Magic. Cole Anthony, Jalen Suggs, Franz Wagner, Wendell Carter Jr., and Mo Bamba taking on Chris Paul, Devin Booker, Mikal Bridges, Jay Crowder, DeAndre Ayton. 223.5 our total and a 17-point spread. I don't know offhand, but this feels like the largest spread of the season. And if it's not, it's got to be up there. This is an uphill battle for the Orlando Magic, to say the least. So I'm probably going to be out on all these cats. And then it's hard to expect full run from these Suns starters. So I think it's easy. Maybe it's the lazy approach, but it's easy to write these cats off if you are a late swap aficionado. Later on in the night, you might swap into like some JaVale McGee or Bismack Biyombo into some lineups that might be dead, and maybe they get extra minutes tonight because of this potential scoreboard. But it's a hard game to like pre-flop on a 10-game slate. Coach, any secret nuggets? So you said the secret squirrel moose
Secret
plays.
Squirrel's already used up tonight.
Yeah.
This is my favorite game. I'm stacking 3 guys on each side and taking Orlando on the money line.
Yeah. Plus, should be plus 8,000.
No. Yeah, this game just reeks of disaster, blowout, issues everywhere. I'm passing. I'll be snoozing for this game. I'll be doing the podcast for tomorrow during this game. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I'm not really running too much here, and it's kind of weird that these late games, which aren't really that late, 8:30 and 9 p.m. I can deal with that. That's what 7:38 our time. We're blessed as old folks. So I for late night hammers, quote unquote, I guess it's Luka, and we hope that extra 30 minutes doesn't matter. But that's it.
I better have a big lead. That's all I'm saying.
Oh man, chat. You guys got anything else here before we get out of here? I appreciate you guys spending some of your time on a Saturday afternoon. Certainly an eventful one. UFC tonight. Golf is in the thick of it. The esports, we got League of Legends and Call of Duty is being sweated in the chat right now. And there's it's all about one specific map right now that people sweat and hope that map hits for the kill over bets and stuff like that. So there's so much going on a weekend. So to see 200 of you guys hanging out with me, that means a lot. I will definitely be back Monday. We only have a couple days left before the All-Star break, so I'm going to try and make the most of it. Tomorrow, just 2 games. Be sure to check out Coach's YouTube channel tomorrow. It's going to be covering those 2 games. Monday, we got 9 games to chop up. Tuesday, a pretty sizable slate. Monday, by the way, V-Day. Make sure you're getting your old lady some gifts there. I ordered mine. And then Wednesday, another big slate. Thursday, a sizable slate. And that's it, man. So Monday through Thursday, we're going to be grinding as we head into the All-Star break. So I hope you guys will join me throughout the week. Maybe we set another record, break another concurrent viewership goal. Sleazy says top prize picks you can get on tonight. I'm going to be doing a little bit more prize picks research in the next hour or so in the Discord. I haven't gotten my feet completely submerged. I would say if Bulls news shakes out the right way, I can get behind some Vucevic fantasy points. Maybe DeRozan, maybe the Sumo assist line gets thrown up there. Luka, I'm willing to run back this 50% assist rate for Luka at 8.5. What else did we? Let's see. Lowry might have some fun props if Hero gets ruled out. The Ja Morant versus Hornets. If we get a line that's around or less than 30 real points, I think Ja Morant is live to exceed that, just because 27.5. I think that's very, very, very valuable to hit the over in a game where the team is implied for like 120. So I don't mind that. Maybe LaMelo fantasy points. Kyle Kuzma, typically I like the lowest line possible. I've been betting his rebounds in this split. 9.5 is up there. So maybe I get behind the PRA or even the fantasy score, but maybe the PRA for Kuzma. So a couple of standout lines for me. But maybe if you tweet at me in an hour or so, I'll give you something that I'm sinking my teeth in a little bit more. Maybe I'll tweet out my highest $5 flex tonight, right? Zubac against Dallas tonight. Man, Zubac against Dallas the other night didn't really go that well, so I don't know that I need to get down there today. 26 minutes against Dallas. Really didn't net much, only 4 shot attempts, so he wasn't that involved. And, to have a combined 10 shot attempts in his last 3 games, it's not an encouraging sign, so I'm probably not going to.
Timeshare with Hartenstein.
Yeah, and even Hartenstein. I played Harden. Not only that, I think Rocco is a slept-on impact in that rotation, because I also played Hartenstein that game. Let's see, yeah. Clippers, and it didn't feel like Hartenstein got a ton of run either. But Robert Covington, a little bit of run, just 10 minutes. Hartenstein 5 minutes. Zubac 25 minutes. So it's really not a deep front court rotation. So probably not for me. Best lines for today. Who's gonna win? Man, you just got to remind me of Valentine's Day. Got to get my girl. Yeah, I hooked up my Valentine's Day gift 2 days ago. It should be here today or tomorrow, maybe Monday. But yes, don't forget, fellers. There's an old Jeff Foxworthy joke where he said that sports commentators should remind men to compliment their wife. And the joke was like, Greg Maddux is looking good out there today. And speaking of looking good, fellas, don't forget to let your wife know. and then he was like, honey, I ever tell you look as pretty as Greg Maddux? And it's just, I don't know, corny.
I like it.
Coach, you're on Twitter, right?
Yes, I am, sir.
What's that at for the people?
At Joe Sarvadi, JoeSarvadi. You can get me directly, or at DFS Coach Talk. Our whole team is on that one.
Let's go. All right, Chad. Appreciate you guys. Coach, I appreciate you. Guys, I'll see you guys on Monday. Let's go Rams. Odell Beckham getting that ring. His baby needs to wait, though. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. Good luck. God bless. Go win some money.